I don't think anything was meant to happen to him. I just think there was words and something, it got aggressive. It got ugly, and I think he got hurt.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to True Crime Unsolved. I'm Miles Reef, and I'm here as always with my friend Sean Cahill. On this channel, we tackle the cases the TV networks won't touch: missing people, homicides that have never been solved, the stories without an ending. Sean, what do we have for everyone today?
Hey, Miles. So today we are continuing our coverage of the Chance Englebert disappearance case. If you guys aren't familiar with that yet, please go into the playlist for this and check out the first video. That's going to be our introduction to the case, right? You're going to learn all of the facts you need to know about who Chance was, the circumstances surrounding his disappearance, and everything we know so far. After that, dive into the interviews. This one is with his mother, Dawn Englebert. She's going to tell us everything about Chance's background, what was going on in his life around the time he disappeared, and what it was like for the family when he did. There's a lot of good info here. It's a good level of detail for anybody who really wants to understand more about where Chance was and why he was there and what may have taken place. I will, without spoiling anything, say I think you're going to learn some things that you can't learn just by Googling this one from Dawn. So, that being said, Miles, you got anything else to add?
Just that I think hearing it directly from his mother, you really get a feeling for who Chance was as a person beyond just the story that you've read online. So it's worth watching just for that. And just a reminder that I always make that any theories and opinions that our guests may express here are theirs and theirs alone. As always, we're providing a platform. We're not making an endorsement.
Absolutely. Yeah. With stories like this, there's a lot of things that can be said. Obviously, nothing has been proved yet. So keep that in mind when you watch. And without further ado, here's Don Engelbert.
Great. Absolutely. Um, so I don't know what order Sean will end up putting these up, but we did speak to Ryan already, which is interesting because usually we would probably speak to the family person first before we talk to the detective or the PI, but it was really interesting. I mean, seems like a great guy, and we talked to him for like 2 hours, and he had a lot of information, and obviously you're coming at it from a different place, and I'm really now that I know everything that Ryan told me, I'm really curious to hear your side of it and sort of what your experience has been, because there's so much that Sean and I learned that we didn't know about.
Yeah. um, and I said, you might know a little bit more than I even know. I tell Ryan, tell me what I need to know and just take care of the rest. And first, I'd like to say, although Ryan is a very close friend now, we were strangers, met in Hot Springs to kind of go over, asked if he could work for Chance. And that's how we put it, is he is working for Chance. He's just helping us out a little bit. No sides, just Chance.
Yeah, which
So,
is what you want.
yeah.
That's the right attitude.
Yes.
So, I guess why don't you tell me a little bit, let's just back up, what it had been like for you up until the point where Ryan entered the picture, right? You guys have been through a lot already by the time he came around.
Yes. We've been through like three investigators with the Gering PD, and once in a while they would call and tell us we have a new investigator and who you're going to be talking with. But most of the time we just were kind of out of the loop on everything. Get told a lot that I'm not his next of kin and they can't share anything with me or talk to me about things. Um,
Was that immediate? Was that like as soon as?
the week we got home from, we spent a week down there searching, and about a week after is when we kind of got told that. I really liked our first the lead investigator, Sean West. He was a really great guy. And then we had an investigator, Schneider. He was, I think he was because he just didn't know what to do. He was very kind and caring, but kind of shocked, I almost want to say. Like he just didn't know what to even say to me. And then we got investigator Eads, and that's when things kind of, I would say, got a little south.
Yeah.
So,
What's been the experience with the newest investigator?
um, I I personally don't think he cares about anything. He says he does, and tries to he tries to BS me. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Right.
Um, Captain Jason Rogers was amazing to us that whole week we were there, the week at, weeks following. And then after Brian Eads came in, that's the only one I'm supposed to talk to anymore. So,
So your communication basically with the people who are, entrusted with the responsibility of solving this is not great, to put
no,
it
no.
lightly.
I tried to do that. You call every week, you call every month. And when you'd get like, oh, it's so good to talk to you, Mrs. Englebert. What can we do for you? Well, find my son.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just got tired of calling and getting treated like that.
Yeah,
So
I can imagine. So at what point did you decide that you had enough of that and that you wanted to bring in private help?
honestly, we went and did that right away. Within by September 1st, we already had our PI hired.
Oh, wow.
And that was told to us by investigator Sean West that that would be our best option.
To get a PI?
Yes. Which now I've learned that that's strange that I was told that.
Well, yeah, that is strange in my experience. I'm curious, did he give you a reason? Was it a question of like resources that they had, or what was his
I
reasoning?
think there really wasn't. I would say maybe some was resources, but looking back now, I think it was push me away. I don't really think they wanted to deal with anything. Whether it's because they didn't know what to do or they knew what could have happened and they didn't want to deal with it, I honestly don't know. I really don't. But I just been felt like now looking back, that's what it's been.
Right.
Yeah.
So the first thing that comes to mind of a person in your situation would be, like if I went missing, my wife, who was the mother of my son, would get together with my mom and they would combine resources and they would do everything that they could to try and, figure things out, right? Like they would be a team and my brother would be involved and my stepson and everybody. So I guess the question is, did you already, were there personal issues between you and his partner's family before this, and so you guys weren't really getting along, and that's why you haven't been able to work with them, or like what's if you don't mind me asking, because it's a really personal bunch of questions I'm
I would
asking.
say that would depend on the day of the week.
Okay.
I did not feel I ever had any problems at all with her family. No. Um, honestly, I can still say to this day, I loved Bailey. She was part of our family. So everything that's happened besides Chance is hard.
Yeah.
And so it was a roller coaster from the time they got married until after Banks. And then it kind of mellowed out and then it came back again. I had two young girls dating my sons, actually same age, and there's a lot of competition of who I liked, and I was very careful. If I said it to one, I said it to both. But there was a lot, high school girls, and so I think there's a lot of miscommunication, a lot of things that really was took out of content, and things just kind of escalated that last week before he vanished.
Mm.
Oh,
And
so that week leading up to him,
oh yeah,
things
yep,
got bad between you guys.
yes.
And they were very young, right? I mean,
Bailey was very young. Um, Chance was young, yes, for his lifestyle, but he was ready. He was ready to settle down. I think things moved very quickly, and he tried to slow things down, but it didn't happen. And then she got pregnant, and they decided to get married. And I just said, as long as you're getting married for why and what, and it was rough after that.
So it sounds like
So,
things just moved really fast with these two,
yes,
but not always in a stable way. A lot of
yes,
like craziness and,
yes.
drama, which, not that unusual for a young couple, especially when, there's a pregnancy involved and
Yeah.
everything like that. So I can see it. I can see it.
Yep.
And is
Yep.
that sort of, I mean, again, I'm not prying and feel free to tell me
No.
no, but was that sort of the access point for, your disagreements with her and her side of the family? Was it sort of about the relationship and the pregnancy and stuff?
No, actually, we still got along with the family until weeks after.
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
Her grandparents and her dad and his girlfriend came up. We had a prayer vigil a week and a half after he vanished. They came to Edgemont, spent the night, came to the prayer vigil. Things were good.
Interesting.
And a day or two after that, it just kind of, Miles even went down the second week after we were home and spent a couple days searching with her family. And
Miles is Chance's brother, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So,
And so
I
you
know.
you had gotten along with the extended family, and you knew
Yes.
like her grandparents and
Oh yeah,
everybody.
we've been to their house. We went for her graduation, and we went for his baptism, and then her grandma had invited us. We went and stayed at their house. They
Oh
let
wow.
Yeah, we slept in their camper in their backyard for that whole week.
Wow.
So it sounds
So,
like everybody approved of the relationship. There wasn't
yeah,
anything there as far as
yeah.
that goes.
I just think there was maybe some things that were said maybe after about Chance, maybe even that week or two up to it,
Yeah.
uh, that I think she exaggerated on.
Yeah.
And um,
So I think we know what you're alluding to
yeah,
after speaking to Ryan.
yeah.
Oh,
And I will say this: I do not live in a glass house. I know he drank too much,
Sure.
but he worked even harder than he drank. He never, he didn't call in sick. He didn't. He worked hard, and I'm not saying that he didn't cheat on her before the marriage. His comment to me since that October was, "I did not cheat on my wife."
got it.
So I think he tried very hard from October on.
But it sounds like there was I'm understanding now, there's some
Yeah.
things in the past that were sort of like bones of contention between these two that probably surfaced
Yep.
during fights, right? Like they
Yep.
do when you're in
Yep.
in a relationship with
Yep.
somebody. Everything's always fair game as soon as the
Yes.
fur
Yes.
starts to fly. Yeah, I can see it.
And it's hard because we live in a very small town, which she does
Mhm.
too. So I thought they
Hmm.
would get that. Chance has been friends with these kids since before preschool, and dated and maybe even slept with them. I don't know, but we're all still family and friends here. And so she didn't want him to be friends with anybody here. She
Mm.
didn't like us to be friends with any of the ex-girlfriends.
Right, right.
So that was a lot of fighting too between us. And I did my very best. But it's
Right.
hard when I've known these kids since preschool too. So
Right.
Right. You don't want to see him just sort of brushed aside and cut out
oh
of
yeah,
your son's
yep,
life. Yeah.
yep.
Do you have any insight, or is it even relevant, what was going on with them the week before they went down there? Because Ryan had kind of told us that Chance told you guys, like, listen, I just need to go and spend some time with Haley. Like, we're going to go to her family's place for a little bit. I don't, if it's not important, we don't have to talk about it, but just since we're kind of already,
Oh, yeah, no, and if I don't talk about it, then I get accused that I'm trying to hide it, and I don't want to hide anything. Um, we were all at a derby. Banks and her stayed home, and we were in a derby up in Rapid, and some things had got brought up in the little group of our friends, and about chance and fights and cheating and whatnot. And so I said my opinion. And unfortunately, somebody there had texted Bailey and said I was talking about her, which everything I had said, I've already said to her. So I really wasn't. And so the next night, I got a phone call from Chance screaming at me that he's tired of getting caught in the middle and that I have to quit talking about his wife. And I said, "Whoa, anything I've said to her. I'm not talking about her." And so that went back and forth. And unfortunately, my youngest son got drug in, and if you know my youngest son, he's pretty clueless about everything, and he probably just said things that just to pass it over, get it over with, and it escalated and made it worse.
Oh boy.
And so Chance said that, Mom, I need a week to work on my marriage.
Mm.
Leave me alone. I don't want nothing to do with you for a week. And unfortunately, the last thing he said is, if you're lucky, you'll see me next weekend.
Dawn.
And I know that he didn't mean that, because on Saturday, that the night he disappeared, him and my husband had talked. And he said, well, we're coming to the ranch tomorrow on our way home. So I know he didn't mean it, and I left him alone. The first week I've not ever talked to one of my sons. And so that was very hard. And then he lost his job along with 900 other people. So it wasn't just him.
Personal, right?
So, but I knew already that he'd had a new job, already lined up. He'd already took the welding test. He already took the drug test. So I knew that everything was okay with him. So I wasn't overly worried. So that's what makes it even harder. That was our last thing.
Right. I mean, it's the last thing you thought was that he was going to go down there and then
and I didn't even know he was going down there, because the plan was they were going to come and camp up the creek from us and go catfish fishing. And so that's really what I thought that they were going to be doing. And then I found out that he had to go down there. Well, he didn't have to. They chose to go down as a family and spend it with her family, which is, we were in the hayfields. We weren't doing anything special for the 4th of July anyway. And he had told his grandparents that he would stop by on his way home. So they were expecting him Saturday night or Sunday too. So nobody thought anything of him going and doing this.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it was the last thing you ever would have expected.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah. Oh no, I expected a phone call when he was in high school, junior or college. I expected a phone call. He was in the ditch or in jail or
Right.
unfortunately maybe even dead. And never would I think at 25, married with a baby in Gering, Nebraska.
Yeah.
That's what's the hardest. So I'm good.
Oh, Dawn, I'm so sorry that's how that went, and that you guys didn't talk that week. And I'm sure
Yeah.
that weighs on you, and I feel for you.
Yep.
Was there any communication at all, like even a text or anything, or was that really just it?
Nope, that was just it. And it was hard. And both my husband and I said, gosh, should we call him? Should we text him since we learned about the job? I read it by his Aunt Katie, and she's like, no, that was his wishes. I've talked to him. He's good. He's in good spirits. He'll be there this weekend like he promised. And so I just let it go.
So, and please feel free to pass on this if it's too much, you don't want to go down the road. But do you remember like when you heard that he was missing or hadn't turned up, or like when did this all kind of hit you?
Okay, so Saturday my husband and I were just sitting here watching a movie, and his friend Matt Miller called me, and he's like, "Hey, Mama Dawn, I think we have a little problem." And I said, "Oh, what's up?" And he said, "Chance called and he needs a ride." And I said, "Oh shit."
Dawn, when was this? What time?
That was Saturday at about 7:45.
Okay.
On the 7th. I mean the 6th. And I said, "Oh shit, now what?" And he was like, "Well, he got in a fight with the in-laws and he needs a ride home." And knowing that Matt was 2 hours from us, farther out than we were from Gering. And he said, "I told Chance I would get something worked out and I'd call him back." And I said, "Well, I don't think he's going to want to probably talk to me." And the reason I said that is, in a fight, if he's in a fight with them, like the last thing he needs is my mother saying, "See, I told you so," which
I was going to ask you why, if he usually would have called you, but that it was that kind of thing, like, oh,
it was the kind of thing he would have called Matt, because he did not want to admit to his mom and dad
for sure.
again.
Totally
Right.
makes sense.
another
Yep.
fight again.
Yep.
He was a very independent kid and
Right.
did not want to ask for a lot. Um, in my mind, he was leaving and he was going home to figure out what he was going to do. And then he would ask us for help.
Mm.
So I said, and Matt said, "Oh, yeah, you're right." Well, right away, my husband's, we were on speaker and he started texting and calling. He called our Chance's Uncle John, and I called and texted Katie and Uncle John to ask them, like, because they were the type he would have talked to them about it. So I said, "Would you please get with Chance, make sure he's okay,
Mm-hmm.
and see what we need to do?" And then Everett tried calling and texting, and he didn't answer. And then I finally, about 9 that night, I said, I texted him and I said, "Chance, no questions asked other than, are you okay? And he's always carried a ranch credit card." And I said, "Go get a motel room and use the ranch credit card if you need to. We love you." He never ever got my text. It bounced back to me a week later. So that's why I know it. That 908 something happened with it because his phone and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, John tried calling him to see if he was all right, and Katie called, or Katie didn't call because they didn't talk on the phone like that. They text. So she just texted and said, "Hey, I have a question for me. Get with me when you get a chance." That
And
way,
that's Katie's his aunt, right?
yes, yes. So that was just to kind of like, so he didn't think something was up, and we were all checking on him. That was the first thing ever came. And then about an hour later, that's when that weird weird thing was sent to her.
The
Right.
jumble text with the
Yep.
emoji. Right.
Yep. Yep. And so she had texted back and said, "You're what? Are you okay?" And never got anything back because that's basically when we know his phone quit working for whatever reason.
Right. And Dawn, I'm just looking, we have like a timeline that, we've created ourselves just to follow everything that happened that night. You said it was about 7:30 when the friend got the text that he needed the ride, right?
He actually called Matt. He
He
called
called
Matt,
Matt.
and Matt said, "My phone's about to die. Call Eric." I think is what happened. Because then you can see on the phone log that he called Matt and then he called Eric. And then Eric and Matt talked to him. And, Eric has said from day one that nothing was said in that phone call to make anything seem weird to him. And so he's just stayed out of it because
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't know
Mm-hmm.
anything. Um, all I said to Matt, I said, "Well, what is up?" And he said, "I don't know. All he said is a fight with the in-laws." And I said, "Does he seem okay?" And he said, "No, he seems pretty upset, but I think he's going to be okay."
Wow.
So, and then he never would answer Matt back. I've been told by the family that it's Matt and I's fault because if we wouldn't have been called, Chance wouldn't have got his even more upset because supposedly he called his wife and said, "You told the folks."
Mm.
So that came from her. I don't know. We're not going to believe that. That's not what happened. It didn't make it worse. I won't ever believe that, but that's what we've been led to feel anyway.
Well, what made it worse so that what? I mean,
Yeah.
so that leads to the question, like, are they saying that something specifically happened that you helped cause? And what would that
Yeah.
be?
Yeah. Yeah.
That like Chance did something to himself that night?
She wanted us to believe that.
That's so
It,
okay.
a
So
couple weeks
that's
later,
sort of their version of it.
yep, a couple weeks later, she stopped at the house and she said, "Have you guys been down by the river and looked at things? Because we live by the Cheyenne River." And I'm like, "What?" And she said, "Well, I know that Chance had some spots picked out that if anything ever happened, we could find him there." And both my husband and my son Miles looked up and said, "Bullshit. No, no, there wouldn't."
Also, he wasn't
But
even near you guys when this. I mean, the
Right.
whole thing
no,
is.
So
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
wait,
I
so
think
she said that he had spots picked out at the river by
at
her
a ranch,
grandparents'
at a ranch,
place
yeah.
that like
And,
he was gonna like jump in if
no, I think that she asked if we had found all of our guns, and she thought he would have took a gun and went down into those spots and shot himself. And we're like, "No, no." And like, how did he get here then, too?
well, yeah,
Well,
I was gonna say, when she have known if he had a gun on him when they were
Yeah,
golfing?
yeah.
with
Yeah. And we're
the phone.
2.5 hours away.
Well, that's what I'm
Right.
saying, because she's talking about the river by your house, not the
By
river
my,
up there, not the North Platte,
not the
Right.
right?
North
Like
Platte.
he
Nope.
came back somehow, got a gun, went to
Yep.
the river,
Yep.
On
and you
foot,
guys
right?
were
And it's
just
a
like,
two and
yeah,
a half
here,
hour
here.
drive. So.
Here's a gun.
And
Go
the
down
thing
to the
I
river.
said, we all said to her, we have neighbors that check their property every day. If we see birds flying around, we go check to make sure we don't have livestock problems
Mm.
or have anything. So we would have noticed that weeks ago. And so, with just knowledge, we're like,
Well,
no,
it also just logistically, timeline wise, it doesn't add up. It doesn't make
no,
sense as far as like when his phone stopped working, he wouldn't have been able to get back to you guys in time.
no, no.
And also he's seen on video, so
Yep,
it's
yep,
over there, so it doesn't make
yep,
sense.
yep.
Well, speaking of, like stuff in that world, right? Did
Mhm.
he know that town well enough to get around on foot, or was that something he would not have been able to do in your opinion?
Well, okay, being a country kid, he knows things, but no, he'd only been there a handful of times too. He didn't know that many people that around there other than pretty much her family. Um, I know that he's made a comment to Matt. Matt asked him where he was at, and he said, "I'm not sure." So doing the walk, I think I know exactly where he called Matt at, and it's like some open fields. There's not like street signs. There's not a bank, a grocery store. So I do think that that's what he meant. Is I'm not really sure yet
Mm.
where. It wasn't like he was out wandering lost. He just was. And if you watch those videos and you know my son, he looks like a kid on a mission. He was just nobody would have thought to stop and ask him if he needed anything. He was just walking, and I think he was walking to get to the highway to start headed to um, Torrington.
That
Well,
he was going to walk home.
yeah. And people say that's not even capable, and no, it probably is not something that. But Chance was the type of kid that he said he was doing it. He's going to do it. He was
Right.
hoping maybe somebody would get to him before he got to Torrington. But that's what he told Matt. I'm headed to Torrington. I'll meet you in the ditch. So,
Wow. I mean, it is interesting. This might not even be relevant, but like in your experience, was your son the kind of guy who would like when things were difficult or frustrating, go take a long walk, and then come back? Or it was, in other words, how unusual was this, right? Like, because this is important.
so I guess saying that he's going to walk to Torrington is not necessarily normal. Walking away from a fight, like going around the block, is very, yes. He wouldn't have wanted. He wasn't abusive. He wasn't a fighter. He would have just said "fuck it" and walked off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I wasn't overly concerned Saturday night.
Mm.
And everybody says, "Well, why didn't you go? Why didn't you jump in your vehicle and go?" And my husband's still mad to this day that we didn't. But I said by the time we got there, it would have been midnight, 1 o'clock. We don't know the area well enough. He was probably going to be laying in bed with her, and then we would be the stupid ones looking around trying to figure out what to do. And so I really thought,
Well, and he had specifically asked you to
yeah,
stay out of it and let him work on his marriage with his wife. So
oh
you
yeah,
show up like freaking out.
Oh, it's
yeah,
the last thing they would have wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have
yeah,
been angry, no doubt. Well, that's
Yeah.
the thing that's so troublesome about this stuff. It's like hindsight is always 2020, and everybody always wants to say, "Why didn't you go there? Why didn't
Right.
you do this? How come you didn't?" It's like, well, because 99 times out of 100, things like this don't happen. And that's like those odds are way wrong.
yeah.
It's way, way more
I love
astronomical.
that.
But
Well, and
yeah,
that's what his wife has said several times that first few days. Well, if they would have just listened and went walking, would have went out looking for him sooner. So I asked Captain Rogers that. Do you really think? And he looked at me and smiled and said, "You didn't come down Saturday night or Sunday." And he didn't mean it meanly. He meant like why should they have jumped? Because they really thought he was a 25-year-old kid that just needed some time away.
Mm.
But I knew by Monday morning I should have went Sunday. I should have. But that's where we were making the phone calls. We called everybody that we knew and lived from there this way. We called the sheriff. We called everybody. And we called Verizon. And I just kept thinking he was going to come in the driveway and said, I need your help now, Mom. I really did. Why would I think that something happened to him that night?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sunday night, Monday morning, I knew it was too late.
I'm sorry.
So, no, it's
I mean, there's nothing you could have done. You know
no,
that.
no,
If whatever happened that night happened that night.
yeah.
The span of time that it probably happened in.
I don't think we would have been, even if we would have gotten the car right when Matt called, I don't think we would have been there in time.
Not judging by just looking at how long I know it would have taken you to
Yep,
get there, and
yep,
when from when he started
yeah.
to when he fell out of communication, and the phone probably got damaged.
Well, yeah, and that, yeah, after 9:08, there's nothing on his phone.
Right.
So, there, well, how would we have found him? How would it, well, he could have been laying in bed and we wouldn't have been able to know that even. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Dawn, what do you think happened to Chance?
I think someone, and I have no idea who, I am not pointing fingers, someone found him and a fight escalated. I don't think anything was meant to happen to him. I just think there was words and something, it got aggressive. If they would have just called us that night, called somebody, I would have been able to forgive everybody. But when you make us live like this for 6 years and wherever he's at,
Do you mean if whoever got into the fight with him and then things went bad had like said, "Hey, it was an accident"?
yeah, yeah. I think it got ugly, and I think he got hurt. I don't even know if he was hurt badly that night. Even that's what's so hard of not knowing. But I really do. I think that somebody stopped him and talked to him, and it didn't go the way they wanted, and so I
So,
don't know why. I don't understand why any of this could have happened.
well, that was my next question. Like that's sort of like the physical, like what happened, right?
Yeah,
I guess that, for that to happen,
yeah,
there has to usually Sean and I have been doing, speaking with people in your position for years, and
yeah,
another statistic, but most of the time they know the person, right? It's usually an associate of some kind. It would be very strange that Chance was walking down the street in a small town where he doesn't know everybody, and he just gets into an altercation with some passerbys and he ends up gone forever. Like
yeah,
that's a rare thing. Um, so that's what I'm curious. Like, are you saying you think it was like some random thing that just happened because he was in a bad mood, or is this tied into like his relationship and the fight and all of that?
yes. I really do think so. I think that something had to have been said to somebody about Chance did something to her, or
Yeah. And without pointing fingers, but we're just saying that there was enough people down there who were
yeah,
aware of him, who knew him, who may have had an opinion about
Right.
what was going on in his personal life, and that might have been the person who came across him first, unfortunately, that
yep,
night.
yep,
And maybe words were said and things got out of
yep,
control. And
yep,
yeah. Well, it's basically what Ryan was saying as well, and I think it makes the most sense of anything. I mean, I don't think he was abducted by aliens or ran off to start, a secret life somewhere. I think
no.
probably on the right track.
I
No,
always say,
I don't think he did. I don't think he did anything to himself. That
oh,
that
No,
doesn't
no.
sound like he was the guy to do that.
no. And if he, I mean, like I said, what would he have used? His belt or his knife? A little pocket knife? Like, no. And he wouldn't have like, oh, I'm just going to jump in this river and kill myself. Like, he knew how to swim. He knew what, he knew to stay away from that if it was up high. Um, so I get told a lot that he was most likely swept up in flood water and washed out to the North Platte River. I do believe
Because of the
the
storm?
storm, and I do believe it was a terrible storm. I do, because there were still branches and debris on Monday. But he's stronger and smarter than that. He wouldn't have done that. That would have happened.
Have the authorities told you that theory?
Oh yeah, on a regular basis they told us that.
Okay.
So just to be, are they kind of telling you that they think it was an accident?
Oh yeah, that there was no foul play. There was nothing, no reason to think foul play. It was just a terrible accident that he got washed away in that river. And I said to the investigator, the only way he was in that river is he was dropped in that river or pushed in that river.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like maybe that's where his body ended up, but
Yeah, yeah.
wasn't an
But
accident.
if he just accidentally fell in the river or got washed away, we found nothing. His phone, his cap, any of his clothing, something would have ripped and torn, got left. Um, we've also said that they think could have been a robbery that gone bad. And I looked at him and I said, then why didn't they use his credit cards? Like, if you were gonna rob somebody and kill them, you didn't even use their credit cards and throw them away. I mean, there's nothing's been done. Nothing's been used. The area he was at, they want us to believe it's kind of shady, and that those people are low income families that live there. What are they going to do? What do they have to go and get rid of him in? And what, those people are living their lives. They're not going to go kill some cowboy walking by and take him and dump him in the river or dump him in the lake.
Right.
Well, yeah. And I mean, like, just statistically, like, do people get killed in robberies gone bad? Yes. Is it common? Not as common as people think it is.
Very
because
rare. It's
especially
very
in a small rural area, like maybe
especially in a place
Chicago.
like that. Yeah. I mean, people, even people as dumb as, like thieves and muggers understand the consequences of committing a murder to get somebody's wallet. Like it doesn't really,
It adds on a lot more risk than most people are willing to take for
most
what
people
they're
would
gonna
just
get.
say, yeah, I think I'll pass on the wallet.
Yeah, they're not
Yeah.
robbing a bank, so
Yeah.
it's not. Yeah,
And that's what, we've had family and friends say, did you guys call the hospitals? And we're like, well, yeah, we didn't. They're like, no, is anybody else beat up? Because if Chance would have got jumped, he would have fought.
That's a good point. Yeah.
If there was guys standing on the corner, he was not going to instigate a fight. I've asked people ask that. Well, he's pretty cocky and this. No, he wasn't. When he was by himself, he wasn't like that. He would have never. He would have walked across the street to avoid anything. Like
that's interesting. Did you guys check into that? Did you find any record of anyone else with injuries?
nope. We've heard some hearsay there and that, but no proof. And it would be pointing fingers at people and I don't want to point fingers at. So
Sure. Of course.
What has the police, the investigators that you've been dealing with over the years, what has, because they have this idea that they're telling you what they think happened, but how do they explain the strange things that happened that night? Like the two girls and the truck and that stuff.
so that just came out in the last 6-7 months.
Okay.
And I've not even bothered to call and ask him about it. Ryan's met with them. Ryan's tried to talk with them. They didn't even respond back after their meeting. Never called him back after that meeting. So why should I call?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's just adding more insult to injury, right?
Yep.
Well, this idea that, yeah, it's like a small place, everybody knows each other, and whatever happened happened, and there's no reason for the people that we know to get hurt because of it, right? Like we know who was involved in this, and well, we don't want Jackie to suffer, or, John or whatever. That's what comes to mind when you start thinking about this larger thing, like why aren't the cops doing anything, and do they know this guy, and is somebody related? Because it does seem like in a place like this, and this we were talking to Ryan about, is that he said people are afraid to come forward because everyone's associated with somebody who's associated with somebody, right? It's there's not that much separation between people when you have that few people living in a place, right?
Yeah.
But it also means that somebody knows what happened.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. But I think it's kind of obvious just from the way you've been talking about it so far. But it's probably more than one person, I would think, in that town knows what happened.
Yep. I think there probably was 2 or 3 people that got with him that night. And I think it probably was. They just went to pick him up and like, come on, let's go back. Let's go. And why it got ugly, I don't know. That's just the mom and me, that's what I feel happened.
Well, it's also logical. Do you, again, if you don't have an opinion on it, you don't have to answer it. And if you think it's a bad thing to talk about, just say I don't want to talk about it. But do you do you think that those people who did this were doing it on their own, or do you think like family members were there? Like,
I
was Chance's wife sitting in that truck, with these guys who were like, "Well, we'll go get him for you." Like, how deep do you think it all goes?
I think it's all a possibility.
Yeah. Not closing any doors on anybody in that
No,
town. Yeah.
no, nope. And what's the hardest part about it is to say this was a fight that him and Kyler had. He really liked Kyler, really a lot. He always said if it didn't work out with me and Bailey, at least I have a big brother finally.
And that's Bailey's brother, Kyler?
It was her sister's boyfriend who had been together,
Oh,
and
is
Okay.
that who he was golfing with?
he was golfing with Kyler and Scott, her dad,
Okay, okay,
and he liked her dad. Didn't have any problems with her dad,
right.
but he really liked Kyler. I've never even met Kyler.
Wow. Well, that is an odd part of it. It sounds like everybody was having a pretty good day for the most part at that golf game
Hmm.
until, they got into the work thing and
Yep.
obviously went south from there.
Yeah. And, people have asked if that's really what was said. Would Chance have been that? Granted, I guess, depending on how much drinking, I just don't see that that was the only thing. Like, he knew he had another job. It was good money. For our area, it was very good money. It was a perfect job to be a block away from your house with a brand new baby. There
Mhm.
wasn't going to be like nights and weekends. So he wouldn't have got the overtime, but the pay was as good as the mine. So none of it makes sense that that would have been anything they would have thought about.
Right.
So, and Blakeman's that he was going to work for have been amazing to us. They've supported our derby. They helped with our fundraisers we've
Hmm.
had. They were totally going to hold his job until he came back.
And he
And
hadn't even started it yet, right?
no, he hadn't even started.
Wow.
Yeah, he went and took the drug test right away and brought the results back and said, "So can I start tomorrow?" They're like, "Chance, it's going to be Thursday. Take the weekend for 4th of July. We'll see you Monday, bud."
Right. Well, he
Wow.
sounds, yeah, he just wanted to make sure he was taking care of his family, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and if
Yep.
anything, I mean, it sounds like there's certainly nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, when 900 people get laid off and you're one of the ones that manages to go get another job, that's a good
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That's why.
something to
Yeah. When
celebrate.
people said that well, he was depressed because of the job. No, he wasn't. I mean, he was disappointed. I think he was embarrassed, but they all knew things were going south there. They had so yeah.
Doesn't add up.
No, no. So
Well, yeah, there's such a lot there, Don. I mean, the frustrating thing here, one of the many frustrating things, is that it does seem like the answers are there in that town, and it's a matter of getting them out or having the right person come forward with the right information, or whatever the thing is. It could be a videotape from some
yep,
business that nobody's seen yet that
yep.
has the right car on it or whatever, And I
Right.
think you and I and Miles and Ryan, all know, especially after talking today, it's not like your son vanished into thin air and nobody has a clue.
Exactly. Yeah.
We've talked to a couple people who have had that, scenario with their missing loved one. You're not
Yeah.
one of
Yeah. And it's just
them.
totally baffling.
So
Yeah.
I will say I believe from Monday through Thursday they did try really hard. There was 17 agencies. There was no place to go that you didn't see somebody looking for him. We got told to stay away from anybody invest. Like don't intrude on the search party, but go look for places that have videos or cameras out. And so we did. We went and walked, and it was just unbelievable the amount of people looking. And so I have to give them praise on that. I do
Hmm.
think they did good. I don't think they investigated the way they probably should have those first few days.
So they were just looking for his body. They weren't
Yeah.
looking into
Yeah,
what
looking for
happened.
his body, looking for a trace of him to prove. And I do honestly think they almost thought he just did get in a car and went with a girlfriend
So
because
it's
that
like,
brought
yeah,
up.
like right off the bat, they're already coming into it. It sounds like thinking, oh, this kid fell in the river, or this
Yeah,
kid got in a car with another lady, and we're not looking at potential foul play.
yep,
Yeah.
yep,
And you hear that a lot from cops where, we've done a lot of cases where someone goes missing initially and the cops are like, oh, he's young, he's off with a girlfriend somewhere. Like he'll come back. Like, don't
yeah,
worry about it. Or even with a female too. Like,
yeah, yeah,
she's probably having a weekend, and she'll call.
yep.
And so, that's sort of like the first instinct, right? But for law enforcement.
But just so many red flags, so many. Looking back now, it's just like how we were dumb. Um, but like I said
Well,
in
but things kind of like showed up piece by piece, right? Like when did the girl come forward that said that she saw the two girls in the truck and all that?
that's just been recently.
That was recent, right?
Yes. So supposedly she called somebody, or somebody in that family called somebody early, and then they moved like within just a week or so,
Mm.
and then they moved back and seen our billboard and said, "Oh my God, he's still
Oh,
on."
and it was the same night. Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, and so they're like, "That has to be something about Chance."
Oh, wow. So they sat
And
on
so
that for years.
and I never, and well, if they truly called the PD, then they've sat on it. And Ryan's gave them the information, and they still done nothing. None of the people that came to Ryan has ever been interviewed or called, and their names have been given to them. I don't know their names, but they haven't followed up on that. They tell me up until a year ago, they'd say, well, we follow every possible lead and we've done this and we've done that. But it seems like the leads that could help, I don't think they do.
Well,
I
I
think
mean, I'm an outsider to this whole situation, but just from what I've learned today, it seems like some of the most intriguing and promising leads were from Ryan.
yeah,
You
Yeah.
know?
yeah, oh,
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
it seems like he's done a great job. You said there were 17 agencies involved in the physical search.
Mhm.
I'm assuming they brought out dogs and all that. Have you guys ever tried to reach out to one of those other law enforcement agencies for help?
Yep. Nobody wants to talk. Nobody wants to get involved.
Interesting.
They all
Because the
say no.
local PD said this is what happened, and they're
Yep.
good with
Nope.
that.
They said Gering PD is handling it. We can't get involved. We can't step on any toes.
Hmm.
We've went and asked Scottsbluff PD to take it over. They said they can't unless they're offered it. Ryan thought he was meeting with all of them. They never invited Scottsbluff to come in. He didn't realize that until he got home that Scottsbluff PD wasn't even there. Um, the so about 3 weeks in, I'm like, okay, who do I call now? Like, so I'm like, oh, I haven't talked to the Nebraska State Police since we were down there. I'm going to call the Nebraska State Police. I got an amazing Sergeant Jones. She was amazing. Talked to me and said, Don, we have got to get this case. We've got to. And I said, well, why can't you just get it? And she's like, we can't. It doesn't work that way. So she gave me the name of the Attorney General's office and the phone number and what to say. She said, you get your Army and you call and write and email every day. And so we did. We flooded them. And within a week, I got a call and I recognized the voice. And I got so excited. And it was Lieutenant Brian Eads. And he said, Don, I just want to tell you to back your Army up. The Gering PD is doing a fine job, and the Nebraska State Police does not need to take this case over. And I said, well, I'm so sorry, but your sergeant is the one that told me to do this. Well, I don't know why she did that. And within 6 months, he was our lead investigator, and nobody bothered to call to tell me that.
Wow.
He retired from the Nebraska State Police and went to work for the Gering.
He switched agencies.
You go from a lieutenant down to a investigator. I've been told it's because he wanted to be home at night. Well, lieutenants go home at night. He lived in that area. He worked in that area. It was in the Scottsbluff area. It wasn't like he had to switch jobs to be closer to home.
Yeah. Well, it's also interesting to me, because again, I've just dealt with a lot of investigations and stories like this before, but usually when there's an unsolved case and it's going on and on, smaller local agencies will be really grateful for the help and assistance of a bigger, especially like a
Yeah.
state agency, because that's resources and manpower and stuff. I've almost never seen people say, "No, we're good."
Yeah.
Especially in a case that's still not solved, right? I mean, like that's not things aren't going well. Clearly, there's no argument. I'm not trying to throw shade on them, but the
Oh,
proof is in the pudding. If it was going great, we'd have answers. So that's unusual, very unusual, and I bet it is extremely frustrating for you,
6 years. It'll be 6 years and 2.5 months.
man.
And we're not going away. I know people think we'll eventually give up.
No, you don't give up
Maybe,
on.
maybe might run out of people, but look at all of a sudden in the last month, I've had more contact by amazing people like you.
Mm.
They're not going to let him be forgotten. We may
No.
have answers, but he's not going to be forgotten. And if somebody heard him that night, they're going to have to keep watching us because we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, you would think eventually, if you keep the pressure on, someone's gonna eventually have to talk, you know? Because if there were that many people involved, like you said, and then there's people who know them that are care that, I mean, I've seen this before where Sean and I have done a lot of stories where they were, it's younger people
Uh-huh.
and it usually falls apart
I know.
because they talk and someone, even if they don't mean to, they talk to the wrong person and it gets out, which does, kind of like connect with the idea that like, well, maybe more people know and they just don't want to do anything about it, where it's that, well, we don't want old Jackie Boy's son to go down, so
Yeah.
let's just forget
Yes.
it because the kid's
Yep.
gone anyway,
Yeah.
which
right.
I
is such a travesty if that's the
yeah.
case.
Yeah, but it
Yep.
does happen. I mean, it's not unheard of for that to
Yeah,
happen.
and like you said, Don, that's not a. I wasn't trying to be
Oh,
prejudicial.
oh,
That's not a small town thing.
Happens everywhere.
no.
That's an anywhere thing. But the idea that everybody knows each other, that's a small town thing, and that's the thing where like everybody's connected, which means that somebody knows what the hell happened. Excuse my French.
No.
Well, and
It's
I
just
bet some
obvious.
money that there's probably people who weren't involved who know what happened.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
I
Because
would
of
think so.
exactly what you're saying.
yeah.
I think
Yep.
there's people that weren't there that night that just know through the grapevine because
Yeah,
so and so said something one night and they put it together. And that's exactly the kind of person that I hope comes forward,
yeah.
honestly, because
And
that's
some
the
of those
person.
people I think have reached out because they've reached out to Ryan. I worked with another amazing lady, Amanda Waldron. She worked with We Help the Missing,
Mhm.
and she's been down there and investigated and did stuff. And she's tried to get Eads to call her and talk to her. Nothing.
Wow.
Like so, people have called and nothing happens. So why should I? Why should I be the one to go try now?
Right, right. Yeah, the whole thing is just really bizarre. It's hard not to come back to, the police department there. I mean, again, this isn't like the south side of Chicago where they've got 300 homicides to clear this year,
Yeah.
right? This is
And
a
I
small
hate
town in Nebraska.
because they have a hard job.
Of
Most of
course.
them have a very hard job, and I'm very appreciative to most of them. But how do you not start feeling like this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Who
mean, I don't think anybody will be able to blame you when they see this, it's
who do
how
you
could you,
think those two young women were?
I best not say.
Got it. So
but you think you
you
have a
think you know
clue.
who they were?
I do.
Got it. Got it.
Can I ask, without you telling us names or anything, can I ask if Chance's ex was a very attractive woman?
Oh, she was beautiful,
She's
and
beautiful and
woman,
blonde
she was very beautiful.
and a blonde, I
Yep.
would assume. It's interesting. Yeah, because actually I was saying to Sean, in between, after we spoke to Ryan that in a town that size, like the way those women were described, there's not going to be that many girls in the town that someone's going to say they look like
Every
models,
night in a storm,
right?
just out walking in a storm. No.
Right. Right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
One of the ones that I think it is refuses to talk to anybody. And she wasn't there the whole week while we searched.
Mm.
Is she local to
Disappeared.
that town?
She was. I don't know where she is now.
Got it.
I don't even know where his wife is now. So,
Got it. Oh, you don't even know where she lives now.
uh-uh.
Is the family still there? Like the grandfather and everybody?
Yep. All of them are still there.
Yeah. Do you think that that was the grandfather that Chance ran into at the convenience store?
It does sound like him.
And
Yes,
do you think he was trying to do the right thing and like be like, come
I
on,
do.
man, come home?
I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, because that's what it sounds like, just putting the pieces together,
And
right?
I hate to think that it would have been he would have been involved in any other way, but I also Chance would have never fought him. It would have never been disrespectful or hurt him. So
Yeah. Well, it sounded like that interaction started and ended without anything getting too out
yeah,
of control from
Hmm.
the way it was described. It was
yeah,
very much like a mature older man trying to get a younger guy to calm down and
yeah.
Right.
come
Come back
home,
home.
you know.
Yeah.
And if that's all true of what was said, they all said Chance didn't seem overly upset either, and did not even seem. So many
Yeah.
people said
Yeah.
that.
From what the convenience
Yeah,
store clerk's testimony, or well, not testimony, but what he
yeah,
told to your private
yeah,
investigator, because the cops didn't seem too interested in
yeah.
what he had to say. So that whole thing with the video that the police didn't care about, that was interesting too, where the guy was like, hey, it's only going to be here for like, what was it, Sean, like 6 days or something? And
Mhm.
So yeah, 7 to 10 days, I think he said. But yeah, I mean, it's like we have a security, camera here, and we think this guy was here. Somebody take it, and nobody did.
And they never went out to the golf course and looked at those tapes.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
that's
interesting.
interesting.
I didn't even think about it being a tape there,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. Everything's on tape now. Did they talk to
and,
the witnesses there? Because I know Ryan did.
um, I honestly don't know. I don't
Huh.
think so. One of the bartenders made the comment, well, they didn't even bother to come out here. And of course, they're all on everybody else's side, and it was Chance that was obnoxious and all this and deserved whatever happened and that kind of attitude. Um, the other weird thing that happened just a month into it was I got a Facebook message from a sheriff Trevino. He was from Morrill County, which is where they were golfing at, and he said that Chance's wife had called and asked him to look into stuff, and he wanted to know if I would talk to him. I'm like, absolutely. I'll talk to whoever is going to help us. And I think it was interesting it was Morrill County because I really thought maybe Chance ended up that way
Mm.
more than Scottsbluff Torrington way. And it went pretty decent. I shared everything with him. I gave him my Verizon information and he got in and did stuff on my account. I mean, I always said I didn't want to get him in trouble. And he's like, oh, no, my sergeant knows I'm doing this and stuff. And a lot of times he'd go back to the department to call and record what we were talking about. I didn't think anything of it. And then he called me and said that he'd gotten a phone call from his wife and she was pretty upset because of the fundraisers we were having. And he wanted to know what I was going to do with that money. And I said, well, first off, if I need to hire a private investigator, I'm going to. If we find Chance and he is hurt, that will help pay his hospital bills. If he really just walked off and did this, he needs mental help, so he'll be that. And if he's dead, we need to bury him because he doesn't have life insurance. And he said, are you sure he doesn't have life insurance? I'm like, they fired these guys. They didn't pay their child support. Why would they have paid their benefits?
Right.
And he said, well, it's been brought to my attention that you have life insurance on Chance. And it comes back to a piece of mail that was in her car that showed a life insurance payment. And honestly, what it was an overdraft notice on our account on my husband's life insurance.
Mm.
But Chance was on our account. we've had,
Right.
Like as a beneficiary.
well, no, he was us on our account because he wrote checks. He, in a small town like this, the kids have your credit card, they had your checkbooks, they had to buy gas, they had to buy supplies for the
Right.
ranch. They were all on my account, but everybody thought it was Chance's account and that I had life insurance on him. And so the deputy Trevino asked, and it got pretty heated. And then I made my husband get on the phone with him because he wanted to talk to Everett. They talked for over an hour. Everett came back. He's like, that guy is a really nice guy. I think he might be able to help you after all, Don. I shouldn't have acted like that.
Hmm.
That man never answered our phone call ever again. Never contacted me, never nothing after that.
Wow.
So I think he knows stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I was told that Eads told him to stay in his own lane and to stay away from us.
Interesting.
Hmm.
So,
So like it seemed for a second like you might have had someone who could actually help, and then
yeah. But I do think that he was being played and he thought he was going to end up finding things on us and dirt on us. And then
Well, it's just interesting that you guys are the furthest away from all of this geographically, and you're also his parents, and somehow, it's not no one he was fighting with that day or was actually near. It's you that
yeah,
that's in the
yep,
crosshair there. I understand they have to overturn every stone and look under it, and I get that. But at the same time, I mean, there's a couple stones closer to home, I think, than you guys.
yep. And I was asked that. Well, if we were been told we should probably investigate you guys. Captain Rogers said that. I said, come out. Let me know when you're coming, and I'll have our local sheriff's department here. We have nothing to hide and no reason to not let people come here. Like,
Yeah.
come meet our town and meet our community who's missing him.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, at the same time, probably kind of frustrating to know that because you're not involved and you know that resources and attention are even being wasted in that direction, right? When
yeah,
the answer is clearly
absolutely.
somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah.
That must have been
You know,
tough.
like people have put that mail on Facebook on the horrible sites, Facebook pages, and it's so stupid. Like they've crossed out our account, they crossed out the Everett and Don and Englebert trucking, and put it on Facebook. I'm like, you've got my mail. Like, why are you not in trouble for my mail? Well, we got it from his wife, but you have it. Why do you have it? And putting it on Facebook, and I can't get any help with that. I call and ask them to assist with things like that, and I get told, stay off social media, Dawn. It just doesn't get you anywhere.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Wow.
And then there's like this whole other piece where you've lost the connection with your grandkid,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have any recourse with that because I mean you just don't, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you're not their parent.
Yep.
I can't even imagine.
And
Yeah.
then, we've talked to a lawyer a couple times about trying to do stuff, but I honestly thought we'd have answers by now about Chance, and I wouldn't have to fight. And I don't have the money to fight. And there's enough other things they've put out there and done about us that it's just not possible.
They, who's they?
The family.
Oh, her family.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what a messy,
About
horrible
you guys
situation.
or about Chance?
About my husband. That
Oh,
is
they,
totally out.
Really? Like
Oh,
they're spreading rumors
oh.
about
I
Chance's
have
death.
I have her on a phone call, the mother-in-law on a phone call, saying horrible things about my husband and what he did to my boys.
wow. Things that are obviously not true, it sounds
Oh
like.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was said just to so I didn't fight for.
To scare you guys off. So you wouldn't because that nobody wouldn't
Yeah,
want a kid around him.
yeah.
Oh my God.
And so I had to protect my husband instead of. I said I got to fight for Chance and protect my husband. And anybody that knows my husband would know that that's.
Right. Well, it sounds like there were also like all of a sudden there was like stories being told about
Oh,
Chance,
yeah,
like right as it was happening or right
yeah.
before it.
Within a month, things just turned ugly for
Right.
no reason at all.
And you said like, look, he drank when they were first together. He might have cheated on her, but it doesn't sound like he was the kind of guy who was abusing anybody.
No. And if all she had to do was make a phone call to my husband, and he would have took care of Chance on that, because that doesn't happen in our family. We don't. No. And even the cheating, my husband would have probably talked to him about it and said, but
Yeah.
and the ones that she says he did, they're in Oklahoma and Texas in college during this time.
Mm,
Like, it might have been a hookup over the summer. And
mm.
am I proud of that? No, I'm disappointed. But he said I didn't cheat on my wife. So I honestly think he tried really hard after that. I really do. I just think over the summer it was too young. He was scared to necessarily want it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you said they got pregnant and then they decided they were going to be together. So, they were young. Stuff happens.
Well, it went from
People figure
October
things out.
to May, and then she moved to Gillette. It was just kind of, I don't think he was expecting her to move that soon.
Right. But it sounds like he was trying to make it work. I mean,
Oh,
he was obviously very close with you guys, and he told you to back off and let him have that time with them.
yeah.
So,
Yep. And the whole sad thing is, she didn't have to share him. Just, we loved her. That's what's so sucky about this.
mm,
Yeah, you've lost her as well. And of course the
and the
grandkid.
kids. Yeah.
There's a lot of damage done here.
Yep. All I ever wanted was raise my boys and have daughter-in-laws and lots of grandbabies. So,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Don.
yep.
Well, and what's extremely frustrating to listen to right now is just that, it feels like it should be all hands on deck trying to figure out what happened to Chance, and it doesn't sound like that's what's happening. It
Oh,
sounds
yeah.
like there's a lot of like finger pointing and muck, raking and rumors and allegations, and I just don't think that stuff helps in an
No.
investigation into a missing person at all. It's all a big distraction,
Yep.
and I think you know that, and I'm sure your family knows that, and I
And I
can't tell
hate
you.
the Chance's side, Bewley's side. I hate that. It's Chance. It's
It
about
should
Chance.
be just all
Right.
Chance's side. That's exactly the point. Yeah.
Well, and then when that happens, you have to start wondering, like, why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you dividing it and
Yep.
pointing fingers over here? What did you do?
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
help but think that, right? What did you do, or what did someone do, or what do you know about?
Yeah.
Because why else would you be acting this way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And some of the things that did end up coming out, that some things that are true, it's like, why would you have done that to us? Like, that's family stuff that was private with all of us.
Mm.
And it's nothing I'm ashamed of. There's more to the story. So why did you only put that part out?
Dawn, what's the best thing that could happen for you at this point?
Justice for Chance. If something happened that night, I want justice for Chance.
Yeah.
He was too good of a kid to get dumped to the field.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like, you have a theory, or at least a rough theory of what happened, and we kind of talked about it. And so for you, it's not necessarily a matter of I need to know, exactly what went wrong. Did he walk off? Was it an accident? I think some of those boxes are probably already checked for you, but it's the fact that you're even using the word justice, right? Like that already kind of shows us where your
Yep.
head's at.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Well, someone's gotta, I don't want to say pay the price.
Yeah.
Sounds vicious, but there has to be responsibility taken, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
I
yeah,
understand.
look, even if it was an accident, and even if it was something that got out of control and nobody had the intention that night of,
Right.
taking somebody's life,
Right.
if that's what winds up happening, in our society, there is still a cost. There is still a price that you pay for that. That's why we all have to be so careful
Yeah.
about not letting things get out of control.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the thing is now it's gone on for so long.
Yeah.
There's probably so many people who know
Mm-hmm.
that it's just become even worse. So
Yeah.
that by the time it does get solved, who knows who's going to be involved and what that's going to mean.
Yeah. Yep.
I do think Ryan will figure it out though.
I said, when I left our very first meeting, I called my mom and my husband and said, I feel the heaviness off of my
Mm.
chest for the first time. Like I felt good.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was like that for at least 2 years. And I know Ryan thinks he's let me down, and he hasn't. It's just I kind of like, what else can happen?
Yeah. Well, I'll say this after talking to Ryan, and I sincerely mean this like from the bottom of my heart. I would not want to have a secret that guy was trying to figure out
Yeah, I
because I
agree.
think he would figure it out.
Yep.
And I think that one of the most frustrating parts about this case might wind up being actually what solves it. And that's that a lot of people in that town, or maybe not a lot, but a handful of people know enough that this could be solved. And even though right now that's the part that makes us all angry because it's so solvable, I think that's also the part that's going to lead to an answer one day.
I agree. I agree.
Double-edged sword there a little
Yeah,
bit.
I think it's the thing that's kept it enclosed, but it's also the thing that it's eventually gonna.
Yeah, people aren't that good at keeping secrets for decades. It doesn't usually happen. Someone's
And
going to
people
get
get
found.
older and they grow consciences that they don't have when they're younger, and
Yep.
people
Oh, I
carry
know.
around dark stuff and then eventually break, or they get drunk next to the wrong
Yeah.
guy and talk, or there's so
Oh
many
yeah.
things that can happen, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that's, yeah. I used to say I want to bring him home. He's at peace now wherever he is. So that's not as important now as just justice.
And you don't think just because, this project that Sean and I are doing, it really is, missing persons, unsolved. You don't think there's any chance that Chance is out there somewhere with amnesia, living some other life in a town, working at a bakery or something, and calling himself George. Like that's not a possibility, right?
He'd had to found somebody really that would have been able to help him. Because even if he didn't have amnesia, I hate being like this because he was a very smart kid, but common sense on like how to deposit a check or how to,
Mm.
I mean, like he called me for everything. I take
He was a
care of
young
my,
guy. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I take care of my kids.
I
I
get it.
wouldn't even know how
I
to
have
deal
I
with
have a
it.
23-year-old stepson. I get it.
Yeah. It's like at 50 some, that takes care of everything. I couldn't just walk off and figure out how to make it without anybody knowing.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
there's no way. And this ranch meant everything to him. And that's no way he would have left. He would have never left his family, his brothers, his grandparents, cousins. But this ranch, he would no. Nope.
Yeah. Well said, and it's worth saying.
Yep.
Chance didn't give up on his life, didn't give up on his kid or you
Oh.
or his wife. Something happened to him, unfortunately.
And in that 3 months of being a daddy, oh my God, he was so good. I don't know how, but he was so good.
Wow.
That's another hard thing.
Right. Well, you got to see that, and then
Yeah.
what it could have been. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh
so
man.
there's too many missing boys, missing men. I'm really close to 4 or 5 people I talk on a regular weekly basis, and we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
Our stories might be a little different. What happened, but we're all moms that need our boys.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
So that would be the main thing I would ask of you.
Do you want to just say right now, like what the contact info is for your group? We can put it up on screen too, but
Okay. Well, I run the Help Find Chance Englebert page. And then there's, I'd have to get you the tip phone numbers and that. I don't have them right off the top of my head.
We'll put them up. Yep.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I'll send you a picture of like his billboard, and it's got all that information on
Still
it.
up, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
And it's there, which
Yeah.
is interesting because whoever knows what happened has to see that billboard, has to see.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
kind of brilliant, you guys keeping it up in that town.
I have to say, thank God my mom had a rich uncle, and that's keeping it up. We had lots of support, lots of people sent money and helped us get it done, and I paid for it on our own for a year and a half or so, and then my mom's it's $350 a month.
Yeah. But you never know. That might be the one thing that somebody gets sick of feeling guilty about every time they drive by
Yeah,
it.
that's what I was gonna say. It's not even like seeing it. It's knowing that it's always there, right?
Yeah.
They're all there. whoever.
Well, you're not letting him be forgot in that place, where people know things. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the
Yeah.
best part of that. So
yeah,
I'd
Yep.
say money well spent.
Yep. Yep.
yeah. It's actually a really brilliant move.
And I said, if we just had answers, all that money could be going to his son. We didn't have to
Right.
be so
Yep.
Oh man. Well, I do hope you get to see him someday.
someday.
Yep.
Yeah. Don, thank you so much for talking to us.
Yes.
I know this stuff is like obviously heart-wrenching to go over, and you being willing to hop on with us and just go through it, with two guys that you don't really know is amazing because I know you're doing it for Chance. So
Yep.
thank you very
Yes.
much.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you.
Man,
I
thanks for
think it was
trusting us.
nice too, like Ryan.
Yeah, he was great
you're,
too.
you're here for the right reasons.
Well, I think you're in good hands with him too,
Yep.
and I thank you for putting us in touch with him. I think, yeah, between the two of you,
Okay.
I think you're going to get some answers one day. I really hope
I
so.
agree. And
At
God
least
bless
some
that
version
girl
of it.
for coming forward,
Yeah.
who was coming
Yep.
home from her quinceanera, right?
Pardon me?
She was coming home from a quinceanera.
Quinceanera.
Am I mispronouncing that?
I'm
The
not sure.
girl, the girl that saw the other two
Oh,
women.
oh yeah. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, God bless her
Yeah.
for coming
Yep.
over.
And that's she's seen the billboard and said, "Oh my
Right.
God, that kid's still gone."
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So there you go. There's the billboard.
Yep.
Yeah.
And same with the guy that at the convenience store. He had left the area too. Like,
Oh, I didn't know that.
like, well, we made the calls and then we moved on, and
Right.
then they come back and realize, and so
All
we
this
got to
stuff
keep it.
coming out after the
Yeah.
fact that the cops had been aware of and just didn't. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, look, I mean, not to like make this too meta, but that's why we're doing this. I mean, it's
Yeah.
things like
True.
you don't know what people saw. Sorry, they don't always understand what they've seen, right? Until they
Yes.
see the billboard or until they see
Yes.
something like this. And they're like, that's really funny. I was there that night and I saw something that didn't even register with me. But
Yeah.
looking at it again, I can't tell you how many like unsolved cases get solved because of that. People,
Yes.
even
Yes.
like
That's
20
what I
years
mean.
later,
Like,
sometimes they're
yeah.
like, shit, I was there that day and I did see something weird and I just never thought twice about it. And then they realize someone went missing, and boom, that's the missing link.
Yep.
So
I
not to
said,
say,
seeing him walk down the street, nobody would have thought anything of it.
yeah,
Like,
right.
they
It's a
wouldn't
guy
have
walking
thought.
down the street.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He wasn't bleeding or
Nope. Nope.
wearing
No, they
a
wanted.
wedding gown. Like there was nothing. It was just a dude probably
It's not
wearing a
Hollywood
hat
Boulevard.
walking in
They
the rain.
wanted to
Yeah.
believe that he was so drunk and so mad. And I think he'd walked enough and calmed down enough that he did
Yeah.
not have that.
No, and the fact that he got a monster drink at the convenience store, he wasn't drinking anymore. Like
Yeah.
we talked about that, how he had
Yep.
walked enough and he had sobered
Yep.
up. He was
Yep.
getting tobacco, was trying
Yep.
to give himself a little bit of a nicotine charge, drinking an energy drink, trying to find his way back.
Yep. Yep. And that's, yeah. Knowing all of us that know Chance and the way he walks up, that was the first thing we said. We didn't see the videos until Friday. And I said, God, I wish I would have seen these. I'd have told you this is totally wrong. Like, that is not him mad or drunk.
Yeah.
And my son said, yeah, he's not, yeah, because he just had a walk about him when he was mad or that. And no,
Yeah.
he was on a mission. He knew what he was doing.
Right. And he'd already walked it off.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Well,
All
Don,
right.
thank
Well,
you so much.
Thank you, Don.
Yes. Have a great night.
Yep,
All
let's
right,
stay in
Bye.
touch.
Bye.
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 Yeah, so what did you said there's some things that you really wanted to go through.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of go because there's so much to this story that I think I just wanted, well, it's the top of my mind to just tell you like my most intriguing pieces of evidence, right? I think it's the timeline of the phone dying. Well, not even dying. It's like a catastrophic failure. So how does that happen, right? Was he hit by a car? Was it water damage? It had to be something, right? Like phones are pretty stable in today's world. They're not just
Mhm.
gonna like die just randomly. So either it was like, hit with blunt force trauma because a truck hit it
Right.
or water got into it, which is kind of where I'm leaning
Or
towards.
somebody's grabbed it from him and stomped it on the ground.
Right. Or threw it into a river or something
Yeah.
like that. And then, yeah, it's those girls. Who are those girls? I think it
Yeah.
seems like both Ryan and Dawn have theories, and we're not,
Yeah.
we're not forcing anybody to say who because, that's not fair. But it seems like they're not complete strangers to this world. I think
Well, can we say, I mean, it sounded from that conversation with Dawn like one of them was his wife.
I think that that's a reasonable conclusion to
Yeah.
draw. Yeah.
I mean, she said she's beautiful, tall, blonde,
Yep.
you know, and how many how many of those are there in that town? It's not LA. Where they're coming from all towns all over the country and moving here. It's, how many of those do you get? You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think that it definitely is hard to ignore in the same way that, the old gentleman with the beard and the convenience store sounds a lot like Grandpa, you know. No one's outright saying it, but if you read between the lines, we're not talking about like, Midtown Manhattan where there's a lot of people that match every description walking around. Um, yeah, man, I don't know, it's it's tough. It's tough to know without saying for sure, but I think that what we've heard from our two guests definitely paints a picture that, our audience will probably be able to draw their own conclusion.
I'm curious what you've seen out there of what other people think happened here. Because Dawn and Ryan both mentioned that there's a lot of people online with ideas about this case who have come after the family and stuff and all this other stuff. And I mean, have you seen anyone blaming this on chance? Have you seen this like suicide idea that seems to be getting thrown around?
You know, for what little like, reading I've done about this in the web sleuthing message boards, which is not as often as I do on some other cases. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people seem to think natural causes or suicide. I haven't seen many
Mm.
people suggesting he started a new life because I think that's really pretty out there. Um,
But there are people saying suicide or that he just got caught up in the storm in the river.
yeah, more like the second one than the first. I
Okay.
don't I don't think there's a strong case for the suicide, but self-caused death, right? Not like suicide, like I'm depressed, but like I walked into a place I shouldn't have gone and wound up dying. In other words, no foul
Right, like
play, right?
because he was
So,
drunk, but now we know that he had been walking for quite a long time. He had walked a great distance. He had been drinking an energy drink and had tobacco in his lip. Like
mhm.
it doesn't sound like he was out of control, wasted, and got caught up in a storm, And it's like his mom said, like he was a country boy. He knew to avoid that.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I think if I had to, put money down, I would side with both Don and Ryan and say he met with, foul play
Yeah,
at somebody's hands. I don't know whose hands. I think there's a couple, suspicious people involved in this story that
yeah.
I don't want to name names. You guys heard it from their mouths. But it seems like probably somebody in that town knew who he was and saw him, and something occurred that led to his death. Whether, I don't think it sounds like somebody went there intending to kill him, but things can go south real quick. And I think he was in a bad mood and probably not in a place where he wanted to take shit, especially from whoever was
A
whoever
third
it was.
party that
Yeah.
getting involved in his personal life.
Yeah.
He
That
was
may not
obviously a
have any.
proud guy. Like he even told his mom, like, "Hey, stay out of it. I'm trying to make my marriage work." And then like you have strangers coming up, or maybe it wasn't a stranger. We don't know.
That's the thing. Yeah, we don't know. I think that the best way to say it is like it seems like there was a lot of shit going on with Chance and several people around there. And I think that it may even be that the person who wound up confronting him wasn't as close to Chance as like your gut instinct would initially think, right? I
Right.
think I think that people just knew who he was, and there might have been other people looking for him that we don't really even know their identity, and it could be
Yeah, I
somebody
mean,
like
let's
that.
let really hot girl in a small town. Probably a lot of guys that want to like stand up for her, and then these ideas start getting around that he's abusing her, and he got drunk and walked off, and
Yeah.
she's upset.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Who's
If
not going to
indeed
want to win her favor at that point, right? And white knight it. You know
Right.
what? I don't know anyone else other way of saying it. I mean, somebody sounds to me like some guy, whether it was an ex-boyfriend or a guy that always liked her or whatever, wanted to white knight for the wife and went out there to try and, wrangle him back. I don't know what the intention was. Was it was like, hey man, you better get in this truck and go home to your wife and kid, or if it was like, we're going to teach you a lesson. I don't know what it was, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, and so again, it's like I guess that's why that's the interesting evidence to me. It's like we can see a confrontation like that, but then why is the phone dying? Like what happened there? What did those women see? It seems like something traumatic took place because in order to break a phone, that
yeah,
requires something kind of crazy. Plus, these women are running away,
right.
panicking, trying to stop traffic. So whatever it was must have been like somewhat sensational for a moment. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Well, it's no, you point out two things that speak to like a sudden burst of violence, right?
that's what a great way to put it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I'm picturing. A sudden burst of violence, a phone breaking, people running away screaming into the street. I mean, like
in the rain.
in the rain. Yeah, something happened there. And then I think whoever was in that truck, it sounds like either might have been the person responsible or at least also saw it because they later on went and collected the people who ran away, right? They
Right,
they clearly knew that guy. Two beautiful women in a rainstorm aren't getting in a random truck that pulls up.
right,
I mean, that happens, but those are different kinds of women.
right.
It's it sounds
Whole
like
other, that's a whole other episode,
it's a
guys.
whole other channel.
Yeah.
It's called Lot Lizards. Yeah, no, these it seems like that person came to find the people who ran away from something that they were present for, all of them, and then
Right.
they left, right? And at that exact time in that exact area, Chance is gone forever. So it's very hard to not connect those two things.
The fact that nothing's come up, like, that his body's never been found, like none of his belongings, no remains, 6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's wild.
Yeah, it makes me think that somebody may have moved him somewhere
Right.
and it's on private property. And
Oh, that's interesting.
and that's why we haven't found him. Because you would think if he had been in a field or a river or something like that, with all of that searching and the dogs
Right.
and the boats and the helicopters, they
Well, and she
probably
said
would
they
have
went
found him.
super hard right away, right?
Yeah, yeah. So you would think like that might have been a good chance. I mean, sure, nothing's perfect. Maybe they missed him somehow, but it feels to me like, we have a truck involved, possibly with a trailer, like
Yep.
easy to move somebody if something bad happened. And
And
there
a
you might have a
ton of land from what Ryan was saying,
ton of
whereas,
open
this
land, a
is,
lot of it private, so in order to go search that, you're going to have to get probable cause and warrants. And we know that the investigation wasn't even going in that direction. Still, it doesn't seem like it's going in
from the
that
sound of it,
direction.
these cops aren't getting warrants for anything for this case. And again, guys, if you want to talk to us, we're here. We love cops. So
We
give us
do.
a
And,
call.
I'll be the first to say, a lot of times there's a police side to things that the family doesn't get to be
Definitely.
privy to, and so we would love to hear that, what's going on? How is this being treated? And, if anything, I think Dawn deserves an explanation for that because she's the one with the missing son. So if there's a good reason, like, let's hear it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. God, what a mystery, man.
Yeah.
That poor
Yeah.
woman. And to not have access to her grandkid like that, and the kid's out there and she didn't do anything. I mean, all she did was like back off and let him have time with his wife and her family, and now she's lost everything that she had.
Yeah. It's horrible. It's literally a horror story. I feel so bad for Dawn and her husband and their other kid, it's
Yep.
just terrible. Well,
Brutal, man.
the takeaway on this one is tough. I think this is like we said, it's one of those stories where I think there's answers there, and the frustrating part isn't like it's so much of a head scratcher. It's like how do we get the evidence to crack it open in the legal,
Yeah.
you know?
This stands out to me as something that if there was like harder police work done, they would have figured this out. You and I both know cops that would have interviewed the right people and had an inkling and cracked somebody on this.
Well,
Look,
right on, yeah.
I'm some guy sitting in his office, talking, but I've been around a lot of detectives, and
Yeah, it pains me to say, honestly, because I work with so many great, detectives and people in that line of work, and I don't say it lightly. Like I don't want to, denigrate cops doing a bad job. But look, Ryan was a cop. He's sitting here telling us things didn't happen the
Absolutely.
way that they should have. I think anybody who's worked closely with investigators can see when it's not being done right. And look, even if you even if you acknowledge that there might be things going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, the fact that the parents of this missing young man are so upset and feel blown off, that's enough to say that's not right, if
Yeah,
there's something going on that they can't know about, you would at least want them to know, hey, I'm not talking to you, but there's a reason for it. Please be patient with us.
well, and it doesn't sound from anybody like Dawn and her family were making unreasonable demand. Because like who's the dad that we interviewed who like he definitely pissed the cops off,
Yeah. Yeah, I know who
um
you're talking about.
and I understood, and it was like, and he even knew. He was like, I'm fucking going crazy here,
Yeah,
and
I'm tough to deal with, yeah.
yeah, dog with a bone, right? Like just not letting go. But Dawn does not seem that way at all. And Ryan's like so professional and a retired cop,
Yeah. Well,
retired
here's
law
the
enforcement.
here's the reality of a detective's life. If you have a missing persons case that's open, the family's going to be calling you
Right.
regularly, and that's
Right.
part of the job. If you don't like dressing like Mickey Mouse, don't sign up for a job at Disneyland, right? Like
That's right.
this is like part of the gig, and I know that it's maybe not the most fun
You're
part,
gonna
and
have to
some
hug kids.
yeah, exactly. Look, everybody's job has things they don't enjoy doing. I have to follow up with countless people about air dates long after I've worked with them. And it's like,
You're
people
very
ping
yeah,
me,
and
hey,
you're
when's
you're so much better at that than me, and I appreciate it.
well, and that's my point. It's like this isn't something I delight in, but it's part of my job to like respect these people that I'm working with, and I've like taken their story and I'm telling it, and like, yeah, I'm gonna go track them down months later, make
Yeah.
sure they get my message. Here's where you can find the thing, and that's all this is in just a much more serious arena, right? It's like I'm responsible for finding your missing kid. I understand that you're gonna call me once a month, maybe twice a week, whatever. Like, of course, your fucking kid's missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, and it doesn't sound like they ever got that treatment.
No.
It sounds like these cops have decided what they thought was the answer, and that's just been the narrative. And again, if we're wrong, we should do talk to their, if they have a POI or PIO, we should see. It's worth a shot, especially with Dawn giving us their blessing. Like let's try and talk to the cops.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing. I really mean it. I mean, the last thing I want to do is sit here and speculate on
Yeah, yeah,
how someone's doing their job in a state I don't live in a place I don't know. So it's like I'm hearing what these frustrated family members are telling me and what the current PI is telling me. I would love to talk to the cops who are actually looking into it or did look into it. I'd love to talk to the in-laws, to the family who was there with Chance that day. I'd love to talk to everybody. How many people will talk to us? We'll see,
let's
but
see. Let's
this
let's
is
let's give it a shot. I mean, I think this case is compelling enough that people are going to want to see as much information about as possible.
yeah,
If
well, and
we
that's part of our show. Like we will try to bring you these people.
Yeah,
We're
and
not afraid of
listen, if
that.
if we were making an anthology series right now for Hulu or Oxygen or Netflix, we would outreach to all these people, and we would try to get interviews with them. So, let's do it. If we can, I'll put 6 hours on this story up if we can get these guys to talk. Let's give you
Yeah.
guys as much information as we can get. I have a feeling we're going to have some trouble getting them to talk to us, but let's give it a shot.
Well, yeah, guys, we promise you we'll do that. That's the best we can do. And in an ideal world, you will get to hear all sides from all these people. That would be the best possible version of this content. Whether or not they'll say yes, we'll see. But we're gonna give it the old
Yeah.
college try.
I'd love to talk to the grandfather, see if it was him in the convenience store, I'd love to know what they think about Chance's dad, these rumors that they were supposedly spreading.
Yeah, I'd like to hear it all. I'd like to hear it all.
Yep.
Awesome.
All
Well,
right. Well, to be continued then, right?
yeah, I think so. I think this is not the end of the story, guys. We're gonna have more coming your way. Thanks for checking it out, though. And look, even just with what you've learned so far, feel free to get in the comments. Let us know what you think. Let us know how you how you felt about those interviews, if you enjoyed them, if there's questions you want us to follow up with for some of
Yeah.
these people, whatever it is,
Yeah, and I think, just building on what Sean just said, this story obviously, like, new information has come out like pretty recent. So I think a lot of people who are interested in unsolved cases might have had an inkling or an idea about what might have happened to Chance, and maybe this new evidence changed your mind. Like, is there
Yeah.
anybody out there who's always thought it was natural causes, and then now these women have come forward like that? That kind of changes things, right? So
Yeah.
I'm curious about that. And who still thinks that it was just a kid getting swept up in the rain, and that Dawn's just, looking for someone to blame, you know?
Yeah, well, I think you're right. I mean, it's interesting. We're the first people that Ryan has publicly interviewed with. There was new information that I guess you could say we broke on this.
Mhm.
There's pieces of this story that are unheard by the public, I guess, until you guys watch this. Maybe we should lead with that instead of close with it. We're supposed to be the professionals.
Well, no,
Um,
but we're doing such an open-ended format.
yeah.
We're not gonna take this and chop it into pieces and put music on it, right? So it's like, you're right. But I think now we know what the thumbnail is.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Because it's true. We are breaking new evidence. But yeah, I'm curious what you guys think, especially people who've been following this case for a long time. Because I could see without that how it could come off that Dawn's just, a grieving mother who's looking for someone to blame. But when you actually have eyewitness accounts of this weird stuff, and as we said, having done a lot of murder cases, a lot of, looked at a lot, I've interviewed guys, all they do is forensics on phones and cell phone tower stuff. And
Yeah.
like the fact that they're, like you said, that catastrophic event with the phone and those two girls running off that hill in distress, in shorts in a hurricane,
All right at the same time,
right at the same
right in the
time,
same
dude.
place, right? Like that's why those are the most intriguing pieces of evidence for me. All the conjecture about his mood and where he was going and who he might have fought with that day. That's all very good, like color and background information. But for me, it really comes down to the timestamp on the phone, when the storm started, where those girls were, and that truck. To me, that's everything.
Right. Well, the other stuff is conjecture, and that's fun if you're into that kind of thing and you want to, like, sit around and talk about, like, well, he seemed like he was probably this kind of. We don't know what Chance was.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't have any idea of what his personality was, or, we are only going off of what other people have said. So, like, the hard evidence is what really matters, like you said, and there's evidence that something fucked up happened at that moment.
Yeah, way to say it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Well, like Miles said, to be continued. I'm really excited about this one. Actually, I
Yeah.
think we have
Too.
more of a rabbit hole to go down before we're done with Chance's case.
All right. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. And if anybody's watching this that wants to talk to us, just
Yeah,
reach
yeah.
out.
Let us know. Hit us on the channel, and also don't forget to like and subscribe.